Batman, into the den of the death dealers. Gotham City, New Jersey, late spring of 2005. On the Lady of Gotham, a massive statue on a small rocky island just a few miles outside of Midtown Gotham. It was Gotham City's version of the Statue of Liberty, but instead of a torch, Lady of Gotham held a giant eagle on her hand. And on top of that giant eagle was none other than Batman, perched like a bird of prey as the breeze was flapping his cape. He was waiting for someone to show up at the statue. Then he sees in detective mode that the man he was waiting for shows up to the base of the statue. Then Batman jumps from the eagle of the statue and glides down. He gently lands behind the man he was waiting for, and he says, frightening the man,
"I'm here, Eustace. What do you want?"
Eustace was frightened, and he says, "Oh, God, Batman, don't sneak up on me like that. I thought you could have been one of them." Batman asks Eustace,
"One of those what?"
Then Eustace answers back, "One of those guys from the Society of Shadows. I need your help, Batman. That's why I left that note to Commissioner Gordon for you. Only you can help me against the Society of Shadows, man. I crossed Dr. Dark, and now he's out to get me. Only you can protect me, Batman. What I have to tell you will reveal the Society of Shadows and bust them wide open." Batman was surprised. He's heard of the Society of Shadows, one of the biggest criminals fraternities there is, a secret society of criminals, assassins, said to be headed by one of the most frightening men you can encounter, a man by the name of Ra's al Ghul, roughly translated from Arabic, demon's head. If this man, Eustace, has information about the Society of Shadows, then he is definitely in danger, and it's going to need a lot more than police protection, probably Batman's protection. Then Batman asks Eustace,
"Okay, you tell me the information that I want to know. What do you want in return?"
Then Eustace replies back, "All I just want is you to convince the commissioner to put me on the witness protection program and all that stuff so I can start a new life and go into hiding for good." As Eustace was explaining his demands, two shadowy figures were on the top of the crown of the Lady of Gotham statue, looking down on them. The two figures quickly ran and scaled down long ropes like phantoms to the base of the statue. They eventually ran up to where Batman and Eustace were at. One of the figures grabs a throwing knife and he throws it right at Eustace. The knife hits Eustace right in his chest. He clutches his chest. Batman quickly turns to look at the direction where the knife came flying from, and there they were, the two figures like ninjas, ready to attack. Then one of the figures says, "Filthy dog! How dare he betray the Society of Shadows? He is an enemy of the society, just like you, Batman." And then the two figures leap and start to attack Batman. The two ninja-like figures attacked Batman. Batman grabbed the first one and broke his arm. Once the first ninja was subdued, Batman turned and attacked the second ninja. The second ninja threw some sort of bladed prongs on the ground that Batman saw, and he ran off. Batman stopped short. He picked up the six-pointed prongs and he looked at them and analyzed them, and he realized what they were. They were six-prong Japanese Tetsubishi spikes. If Batman would have stepped on them, they would have went right through the soles of his boots and probably incapacitate him for a good long while. Then he turns over to Eustace, who was clutching the knife in his chest, and Batman lifted him up and he says to Batman, Don't, forget it. The blade of this knife is poisoned. Dr. Dark, next Tuesday, Sue Express." And Eustace died. Then Batman turned to look at the incapacitated ninja in the ground. That ninja regained consciousness and injected himself with an EpiPen of some sort into his neck. Batman couldn't stop him, and whatever that was in that EpiPen killed the ninja. He was not going to talk. Batman said to himself,
Next Tuesday, Zoom Express. I need to look it up.
The next Tuesday, it was a brisk morning in Central Asia, somewhere in or around the Caucasus region. The Zoom Express was a very antique train, coal-burning engines, and 4 termite-ridden train cars. The porter at the train was screaming, "All aboard!" as everybody was starting to board the train. Sticking out like a pair of Thor thumbs from among the locals was a very handsome man in his mid-40s. It was none other than Dr. Dark, a well-respected doctor who every police organization around the world has been investigating his ties to organized crime, and a very beautiful young black woman that was with him. He goes to the train car and he lets the old man in first. It's like, you first, sir," in the native dialect. The old man said back in his native tongue, "Thank you, young man." And he goes into the train car first. Then Dark and his young traveling companion go in next. After everyone boards the train, the door closes and the Zoom Express lets out its whistle and starts to take off. Meanwhile, inside the Zoom Express, the cabin was very smoky from the engine smoke, and it was irritating everybody's eyes. Well, the Zoom Express was going up a hill, causing the train that didn't have much power to begin with to significantly slow down. Dark and his traveling companion decide to use that opportunity to get out of the train. They get up and exit from the back of the train. Shortly after they left, the old man that Dark let in first at the train station gets up, goes to the bathroom. He puts down his knapsack and he takes off his disguise, revealing it was Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne then takes off the clothes, revealing he had the bat suit on. And then afterwards, he opens up his knapsack, revealing his cape, cowl, gloves, and gauntlet. He puts them on and exits through the same exit as Dark and his young companion did. Soon Batman was following Dark and his young companions through fields and a small forest. In the foot of the forest, Dark turns around and he says to Batman, "You could come out now, Batman. I know you were following me for a good long while." Then Batman reveals himself, and then Dark says to Batman, "So, that traitor Eustace did reveal information to you. I did anticipate this too," he says to Batman, and then he says to Batman, "Well, Batman, I want you to meet my highly skilled fighters. These are the best trained fighters on Earth." Then Batman hears a ruffling in the bushes. Then several ninjas clad in camouflage come out wielding bow sticks. Then Dark says to Batman, "Well, Batman, now I get to see if you really are the worthy opponent that they say." Then Batman says to Dark,
Save the compliments, Dark.
Then Dark gives the command to the ninjas, "Attack!" And the ninjas descend upon Batman. Batman put up a good fight, but there was just way too many of them, and they began to pounce on him, beating the life out of him with their bow sticks. As Batman's beating was going on, the young black woman asked Dark, "Oh God, are they going to kill him?" Then Dark says to her, "No, my dear young woman, they won't. I did not give them the command to kill. They will only just beat Batman unconscious. And then when they're done, we will take him back to our hideaway." As soon as the ninjas were done beating the life out of Batman, they all grabbed the unconscious Batman, lifted him up, and like a silent procession, marched through the woods to the foot of the mountains where there was the crumbling ruins of an old temple. Later on, somewhere in the temple, Batman begins to regain consciousness. His skull was bursting with pain. He felt like he was on the pillow, but after figuring it out, he felt that he was on the lap of a young woman, and he felt the cold touch of a cloth over his head and the fingers of a woman moving the cloth over his head. He realized it had to be that young woman that was with Dark, as he was beginning to moan with pain.
Oh.
Batman then asked,
Oh, where am I? And who are you?
the woman says, "You're in the Buddhist temple. We're in a cell somewhere in this temple," she says to Batman. "Oh, thank God you're still alive. I thought you were dead with that beating they gave you." Then she says to Batman, "Come on, can you get up?" Then Batman slowly gets up, and then he realizes something. His cowl was off. Then he quickly jumps back up, and he says,
My cowl. You took it off. You saw my face. You know who I am.
the woman says, "I had to. You were badly wounded. Your cowl kind of was blocking the way of me getting your face treated." And she says to him, "Plus, I really don't know who you are. Your face seems very familiar. I can't put my finger on it, but your face is also so badly bruised and swollen that I don't know who you really are. You're unrecognizable pretty much." Then Batman finds his cowl laying on the ground, and he grabs it and puts on his cowl, and he says to the woman,
You don't mind if I put this back on? I feel kinda naked without this on.
the woman says, "Go ahead, I don't mind." Then Batman asks her the same question again.
Who are you, and why does Dark have you prisoner?
She goes on to answer Batman's question. First, she identifies herself. She says, "My name is Talia, and I am a student of business at the University of Paris. I was studying there when Dark kidnapped me. Dark is the number 2 man in the Society of Shadows. My father is Ra's al Ghul. He founded the society a long time ago, and Dark wants to take over. So he kidnapped me as a ransom demand for my father to surrender power, and he took me away to his mountain hideaway with all those who are loyal to him in the organization." Suddenly, the doors of their prison cells open up. Dark comes into the room and he says to the two of them, "I hate to interrupt your conversation, but let's just say I am bored, and so are my men, and I have arranged a very amusing entertainment for all of us," he says to the 2 prisoners, and then Dark goes on to explain, "Well, Batman, I always heard you were a worthy adversary, even though my men just showed you what they're made of, but I will give you another chance," he says to the Dark Knight. "I will give you a chance to prove yourself in battle. I could easily make you a slave with drugs, but what fun would that be? So I decided to see what you're really made of on the arena. And the prize is this young woman here if you win." And then Dark screams, "Take them upstairs and get them ready." So Batman and Talia were taken upstairs to the courtyard. There, in the middle of the courtyard, was a pole, and Talia was tied to the pole. And then Dark says, "The rules are simple, Batman. In this cage here is a raging bull, and he's very angry. And you have a choice. Save the girl, and or you could run like a coward. Either way, either results will be very entertaining," said Dark, letting out a loud smirk. And then he leaves, and then he gives a signal from where he was watching, a small balcony. As he gives the signal, "Release the bull." The cage door lifts open, and the bull comes out really mad and starts charging at Batman. Batman thinks to himself, "Okay, it's 2 tons of raging bull coming at me. The big dumb animal. I gotta outsmart it." Then Batman takes off his cape and does like an El Toro sign, and as the bull was running, he quickly covers the bull's head with his cape, and then as the bull was shaking the cape off, Batman, with his mighty punch, thanks to his strength augmentation, punches the bull right in the nose. Oh, it had the bull pissed off, but also had it groggy, and now the bull was ready to charge at anything its path. Batman thinks to himself, gotta get it away from Talia. And then he runs away from the bull. He runs towards the safety pin where Dark's men were spectating. As Batman ran towards them, they started to panic and they said, oh no, Batman's coming towards us, and that bull's right behind him. Batman runs and stops right at the wooden barrier, and as the bull was coming full speed, Batman does a mighty leap in the air, and the bull comes crashing through the wooden safety pin, killing several of Dark's men in the process. Dark's remaining men were occupied trying to subdue that bull. Then Batman ran over to the tied Talia, grabs out a small blade out of his utility belt and cuts her free, and he says to her,
Come on, we have to get out of here and get Dark.
So Batman and Talia ran towards the balcony where Dark was. Dark saw them coming and quickly ran off. Batman grabs his grapple gun, then grabs Talia and pulls her towards him and fires the grapple gun and repels upwards to the balcony. And soon a foot chase ensued between Batman, Talia, and Dark. Dark had a lead and he was running as fast as he could. He was very athletic. And then he exits the temple and goes out to a clearing where there were train tracks. Soon he stops, and as Batman and Talia were catching up to him, Talia says, Look, Batman, there's a train coming. Soon Dark stops, puts his hands in the air, and he says, You got me, Batman. You got me. You are a worthy adversary. I am in your mercy, he says to Batman. But Batman didn't trust him, and he was right not to trust him. As soon as Dark turned around, suddenly he does a sleight of hand trick with his right hand, revealing a button. He presses the button, and some sort of gas shoots out of his pin that was holding his ascot together. It disoriented Batman, and then Dark quickly pulls out his gun to try to shoot Batman, but Batman quickly turns around and slaps the gun out of Dark's hand. The gun falls on the floor. Then he and Dark began fighting. Talia quickly ran and got the gun, and Dark lets out a mighty left hook, pushing Batman away with that punch. And then he says, If you excuse me, you two, I have a train to catch. But Talia quickly points the gun at him and shoots him. Dark clutches his chest, but he was not dead, but he was falling over. And where did he fall on? Onto the train tracks in the path of the oncoming train. He turns to look and lets out a loud scream in terror as the train runs him over, killing him. It was over. Dark was dead. Batman turned to look. Talia had an expressionless look on her face. Like she's killed before. She was cold and merciless. And she says aloud, That's what happens to people who betray my father. Soon, several of Dark's men had Talia and Batman surrounded. Talia said, Oh no, they must have killed the bull. Now they're going to kill us. Then Batman hears the sound of a group of incoming helicopters. Soon, the helicopters fly within Batman's visual range, and they soon begin to open fire on Dark's remaining men. Whoever fired that gun had pinpoint accuracy and took out all of Dark's men. Batman sees several other helicopters flying towards the temple, probably take on Dark's remaining men. Soon that helicopter that attacked Dark's men that was about to attack them landed, and the door opens and several armed men come out pointing their guns at Batman. Talia says, No, this man aided me in my escape and takedown of Dr. Dark. They saw the mangled corpse of Dark on the railroad tracks, and one of them says, Are you okay, my lady? Talia says, Yes, I'm okay. Take me away from here. Soon the men go onto the helicopter, and then Talia turns to look and says, Thank you, Batman. Thank you. And then she walks and gets on the helicopter. The door closes and the helicopter takes off. Meanwhile, on board the helicopter, someone says, "My lady, your father wants to talk to you." In some room somewhere, Ra's al Ghul was sitting there looking at the big display screen and the image of his daughter on there talking in real time. And she says, "Yes, father, Dr. Dark is dead and his men are being put down. All's well again. I was saved by a man who is a very cunning fighter. His name is the Batman. I've seen his face, but I can't quite put my finger on who he is." Then the man says, "Don't worry, Talia. You'll be back home soon." And then he turns off the display screen. He then turns around in his swivel chair and he gets up, revealing Ra's al Ghul, a black man who appeared in his mid-40s, built. He was clad in green and he had a long green cape that was gold-lined and a thick mustache. And he says, the Batman. I wonder who he is." Like and subscribe. The end.